Well, and thanks for staying with us here on the AM show. Definitely we'll be delving into the newspapers shortly to tell you what's making rounds in terms of news. But we can't start off if we don't talk about the weather. Obviously, as we speak, the showers are still on and it's been a night of another downpour. The Ghana Meteo Agency obviously told us about that yesterday, but let's find out more from Joshua Asama, who's a senior forecaster at the Ghana Meteorological Agency. He's joining us via phone to help us understand what's happening now. Joshua, thank you. Good morning. And for how long are we expecting this showers to continue?
Yeah, well, good morning and good morning to everyone. So we'll just see, it's already subsided, so we should see within the next few hours. So by 8, 9, most places should have the rain.
And yesterday we also received some reports that this was going to be happening for a period of 3 days. How true is this report that we're getting?
For a period of 3 days.
Yes, I'm talking generally about the trend of the showers that we witnessed overnight. The concern, I mean, we saw news reportage that the forecast is that the trend will continue for over a period of 3 days. Is that what you're projecting from your office?
I think that was the discussion we had with one of my senior colleagues in the office, who is with the seasonal forecast. And he was indicating that if you look at the trend over the years, some of these conditions would happen, as in having those kind of rainfall like we had on Saturday, could happen for like 3 or 4 times within a season. And so it was possible we could have another 3 times before the season ends. I think that was what was said. But yesterday I was saying that around this time we get rain that lasts longer, even though the intensity may not be that high, but because of the duration, the longer duration, it usually brings lots of devastating pests. And when we are at the start of the season, gets very windy conditions and rain, but over a short period of time, that one is more intense and it comes with lots of gusty winds. But during this period, they don't really come with the gas and sandy conditions, but then they last longer. That's really the difference between the peak of the rainfall season and the onset. So that's what we are seeing now. But like I told you yesterday, we don't get it more often. So this condition will not happen every day. We see it once in a while, but it's not the range that we should expect that it will last for some time before.
And so generally, what would you say that the public must be on the lookout for?
I think the best thing we can do is knowing our way around. So each day you are aware of what would happen during the day. You know how you can plan your day. Yesterday in the morning, I said at 5 a.m. there was a forecast that areas along the coast should expect rain into the night, and that is what we are seeing now. Those who have the flood risk up will also assess that there was a message sent to them that they should expect rain from the night to dawn this morning. So if you get these messages and you plan your day according to them, I'm not sure you worry in be troubled by no peaceful activities. But at least that's good news for us in Greater Accra. It will not be that frequent, and so we won't have so much problem.
Well, are there some platforms that you're creating to constantly update the public on the weather?
Yes, there is. We actually have about 8 WhatsApp groups. Once the group is full and people are requesting to pick another one, and now the highest number of groups, the highest number you can have in a group has increased to 500. So we're getting lots of people on our platform, and on Facebook or Twitter too, we are updating most frequently. So that's actually platforms where we are sending everything.
Are we expecting that the intensity of the rains may heighten as the days go by? And I'm asking this question because of the charts that you introduced to us yesterday, talking about the fact that once we inch closer and closer to June, then we're in for more and more rains. Is that what we're supposed to expect?
So like I said yesterday, the intensity is actually lesser during May, June, that's the peak of the rainfall season, than March, April, which is the onset. Because during the onset, we get very heavy rainfall, but they last for a shorter period of time. And so in the end, if you're taking the 24-hour accumulation, you get that probably wasn't anywhere. Because having the 20 millimeters is something small. But if you look at the period it took to accumulate the 20 millimeters around that time, and then you take the period it's taken to get, let's say, 100 millimeters within these 24 hours in May and June, you realize that the intensity was rather higher during the March period than it is now. But because we are getting it over a longer period of time, we are getting higher accumulations within 24 hours. So rainfall amounts to 24 hours higher during May and June than March and April. So we should expect higher the 24-hour rainfall around this time, but not the highest intensity.
Okay then, I guess we'll have to leave it there. Obviously, we'll be getting in touch intermittently, but to know what the weather forecast will be, and we'll be on the lookout for that here on the Joy News channel, just to inform you out there, just so you know about the weather. And also would like to caution at this moment that if you're driving, drive with a lot of caution this morning, because you obviously know that the weather is not favorable, so visibility could be down, and then as a driver you need to take precautions. So that's our advice to you this morning, but it's a good time to get into the papers. Let's do the news review here this morning, and also tell you about the newspapers that we have. At least we have two here with us. The Daily Graphic is with us this morning, and the Daily Graphic is talking about that high-level meeting between President Akufo-Addo and also the Mozambican president, who's in the country as we speak, Felipe Jacinto Nyusi. That's his name. He's in Ghana for a working visit, and of course the Daily Graphic has been talking about that. So on the front page of the Daily Graphic, it says that Ghana, Mozambique condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So it appears that some African leaders are, including our leader and then that of Mozambique, they are also wading into this discourse on what's happening elsewhere in the world. And then Ghana ready for mining hub. That's according to the sector Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abu Jinapor. And we have also on the front page of the Daily Graphic, Tourism Ministry partners City of New York to grow the sector. So we know that the New York mayor has been engaging the tourism minister, Ibrahim Awal. We'll tell you about it shortly. And also AFDB launches $1.5 billion food emergency plan for Africa. So if you want to know about the plan, definitely the details are captured on page 16 of the Daily Graphic. Then we go to the Finder newspaper this morning. The Finder newspaper is talking about the sanction from the National Petroleum Authority. The NPA has fined 7 companies, in total some 1.55 million Ghana cedis. So the details of the story on page 5 of the Finder newspaper. And Africa depending on foreign portfolio investors dangerous. That's according to the MTN CEO, Ralph Mopita. His picture is right there on the front page as well. And AFDB outdoor support for 20 million farmers to avert a food crisis on the continent. So it comes to the president of the group, Dr. Adesina, giving some details there. Government engages stakeholders ahead of a 10 billion U-Start launch in June. We know that it's part of a grand plan by the Ministry of Finance to deal with the unemployment situation in the country. It comes with a picture of the Deputy Minister, Dr. John Kumar, right there on the front page of the Finder newspaper. Guess what? Yesterday when we were talking about flooding, apparently the Lands Commission was also affected. So it's captured here on the Finder newspaper, the front page. Despite floods, land documents are safe. So there was a talk by the Deputy Lands Minister, Benito Usobio. We understand that some papers have been of course, taken away by the floodwaters. But the assurances we are getting from the the Lands Commission is that their document and record and database is safe. So as to whether or not that would also affect some papers on the controversial Chimota Forest Reserve, we're not too sure about that. And finally, Ghana teams up with New York mayor. So that's a part of plans of the tourism ministry to make Accra the hub of tourism on the African continent. So we'll be getting into the details shortly. But if you're listening to us this morning, we know that it's been raining in some parts of Accra for the past 4 hours. So what's your situation? What's the situation in your area where you are now? We'll be opening the phone line so you can share your thoughts with us. And your experiences as well. The phone lines will be active shortly, so you can share that with us before we obviously delve into the newspaper. So let's roll the numbers on your screens now and also give you the opportunity to share with us what the situation is on, where you are. Also on social media, it's at JoyNews on TV. Just feel free, go onto our page. You'd definitely find an opportunity there to share your comments. I'll be taking them shortly. So 0302-211-691 or 692. The numbers are on your screens now. You can obviously give us a call so we hear from you this morning. It's been raining for the past 4 hours, I should say. Past 4 hours. 0302-211-691 or 2. Just give us a call and let's hear from you. So we'll come to that shortly. But how about welcoming my very good friend, the media consultant with Liz Hayfron. Liz Hayfron Asari is our guest this morning, helping us to digest what it is that we're seeing in the dailies today. Liz, it's good to be talking to you this morning. Quite a wet morning it is. How about you? How are you doing?
I'm having a very wet morning. My electricity is out. I was trying to hotspot so I could use my laptop, but it's not working, so I'm back to my phone.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that definitely ECG will do something about your situation. But if you're also hearing us, maybe tell us if you have power or not. We'll talk about that shortly. But let's head right into the newspapers this morning. Obviously, there's a talk about tourism, so I'd like to start off with that. Ghana is teaming up with New York, the city of New York, to make Accra one of the hubs for, not Accra necessarily, but Ghana, one of the hubs for tourism, in terms of tourist destinations in the world. The sector minister has been indicating that it's part of efforts just to drive more and more investments into our country. So it's good news, isn't it, for us?
It's not the first time, is it? We've heard that over and over again, but we never seem to be able to get our act together. So we keep going back to the drawing board and trying to promote tourism like we should. We have a lot of tourist attractions that we need to develop, and we need to be able to sync them together. So if a tourist is coming in, the person is not coming to see one spot, but probably if the person has a week, then there are various activities for the week. We are not seeing that.
And just recently, the president launched Destination Ghana. I'm sure you've heard about that program. Is that to suggest that some of these interventions are not necessarily working for us?
I won't say they aren't working because we still have tourists coming in. But what we haven't been able to do is to measure the tourist satisfaction when they come in. Again, I haven't seen that much promotion with regard to tourist attractions. So when they come in, are they coming to find for themselves where they should go, or we have a package that they can probably sign up to, so that when they come, they know that they're going to see a number of things before they go back. Ghana is rich. Ghana is very rich when it comes to tourism, but we haven't packaged ourselves properly.
Where really lies the problem? Is it about packaging, or it's a situation of not having too much investment from the private sector into the various tourist destinations that we have in the country?
I think that we haven't looked at it holistically. We should be able to marry all that together. It should be the private sector, government, tourist attractions being developed. We should be able to deal with all as a whole. And if we do, then we probably would be putting our best foot forward. We haven't been able to do that. We keep saying that private sector, we know that the cost of doing business in Ghana is pretty high when you look at the interest rates. So people would shy away and would look for something that would give them a quick turnaround. So if we do not look at the investment in tourism and how best we can attract the private sector, we'll have them investing in hotels and the tourist attractions will be left in the states that they are.
Let's see.
So we should be able to marry.
Yeah, let's see if that works in the coming days. But obviously, it's been a rainy morning. That was the situation over the weekend as well. And it appears that we're having to deal with the effects of the downpour and flooding. It's here. It's even affecting the Lands Commission. That's how heavy the impact of flooding has been on Accra. So yesterday, just as we were talking about the experiences of flooding in Accra, it appears that the Lands Commission here in Accra was also affected. Some documents were destroyed, apparently, by the rain. So it took the Deputy Minister there, Benito Usubio, and it's captured on the front page of the Finder newspaper. So the Deputy Minister is assuring us that despite the floods, land documents are safe. Do you believe the assurances we're getting from government, particularly when we see in the reports and the pictures that obviously some papers have been destroyed as a result of the downpour? Lisa, are you there with us?
I don't know what to say. I think that, yes, I'm here.
Yes, you were making your point there.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, so if you can hear me, I'm just asking about the recent reports we are getting. In fact, government is giving assurances that despite the flooding at the Lands Commission, what we know is that the documents, the land papers and everything is safe.
Well, I don't know about those assurances. My question is, why should the documents be destroyed in the first place? What kind of arrangements do they have in keeping their documents? If they're not in cabinet, if they're not being kept properly, I mean, because to see documents on the floor suggests that it probably was scattered by something. How high from the ground are the documents being kept? What level did the water rise to have all those documents scattered? I think that it borders on carelessness, if you ask me, because if we are supposed to be keeping documents that belong to other people, we should be keeping them properly. And if we are not, then it behoves on us to start doing that. Again, if documents are in paper form, what about computerizing and keeping those documents in electronic form? Can't that be done? If it can't be done, why hasn't it been done? And again, if you're keeping documents, why are you keeping them on the floor? Why don't we have cupboards or cabinets or shelves that we can put them on, so that even if it floods, the waters won't rise to that level. The waters won't rise that high to be able to destroy the documents.
In fact, in all of this, what's shocking to me is the fact that this is a government which says it's driving the digitalization agenda. So if that's the case, and we know that the Vice President has been keen on this, the fact that we need to go digital, how come that we're still dealing with quite a huge number of documents in this age?
Exactly. So we should be able to store our documents better. We should be able to provide, if it's in terms of resources, we should be able to provide the necessary resources for keeping documents and keeping the documents well. And
well, some Ghanaians are on social media as well, drawing some conspiracy theories about what's happened. It happened at the time when, of course, Ghanaians are waking up to this viral leak of a will by the former Forestry CEO, that's Sir John. Obviously, his will, portions of it indicating that some parts of the Achimota Forest Reserve is being given as part of his will. So there are those who are drawing that conspiracy theory. Are you buying that?
Well, anything in Ghana now is possible, isn't it? And I don't think that the will is a leak. The will has been read, so it has become a public document. Again, so it is again a public document, so everybody can see it. So I don't think that it is a leak. And again, definitely we will draw conspiracy theories because of the lands that are involved in the will. And for me, it's very disheartening. It's a sad incident if we have our top officials apportioning unto themselves what belongs to us as a people. You can't come and grab what belongs to the state and be sharing it amongst yourself as if it's for petty. And so if those transactions have been made, they should be reversed. And we should keep what we have as a people. It belongs to us as a state. To think of the Ramsar sites being sold as land. And then
well, we'll try and reconnect the lines. Obviously, I suspect due to the rains, it's having a toll on our connection to Lise Fronasari. But she's been speaking to us about this controversy surrounding the Achimota Forest Reserve. In fact, it's also being captured this morning on the Daily Dispatch. The front page talks about the fact that the Sector Minister Samuel Jinapor is giving assurances that we are investigating claims that the late Sir John gifted portions of Achimota Forest. So it comes with a picture of the Sector Minister Samuel Jinapor. And then the bigger story on that newspaper, the Daily Dispatch, it says, "Fight against terrorism in Ghana. Government rolls out see something, say something campaign." So that campaign is actually starting today. We understand that the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, will be leading that charge. The very first session will happen together with the Information Minister, Kojo Nkrumah, and then we'll have the National Security Minister, Albert Kandapah, join that force. So that's the team that will be obviously leading the charge in terms of the education on this imminent terror attack that's about to hit Ghana. The security agencies have been filling us on that. NPA finds 7 companies, 1.5 million Ghana cedis. Comes with a picture of Dr. Mustafa Hamid, CEO for the National Petroleum Authority. And then obviously the last one there is democracy has been good to Ghana, but how good? That's a great question we should be exploring this morning. The Daily Guide newspaper is here. The Daily Guide is going big on this controversy, and it reads, "Government probes Sir John's Achimota Forest gift." So it comes with a picture of the late Sir John, and Daily Guide has been digging into the probe and what it is that the ministry intends to do. But then, still on the Daily Guide newspaper, there's a talk about the resumption of parliamentary activities today. All of them are starting today. We understand that the MPs are supposed to resume work in the chambers today. So we're expecting some of the MPs who will be joining us. A lot has been on the table for the MPs. Indeed, some of the MPs are already asking the sector minister, I'm talking about the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Samuel Jinapor, to show up in Parliament and to answer some questions on the Achimota Forest Reserve. So probably we should be on the lookout for that. We'll find out from the MPs what exactly it is that they are demanding. 39 battle for Ashanti NPP regional post. So that tells you how the NPP has been engaged in a very fierce internal race in the Ashanti region. An appeals court dismisses Atoesian's case, and these are some of the stories on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper. Liz Hayfron is back. Let's see if the connection is better now. Liz, so we know that obviously Parliament is resuming their activities today, and some of the MPs are already talking about the Forest Reserve, indicating that there will be mounting pressure on the sector minister to show up in the House. But beyond that, what's your expectation as the House resumes? It's not been a good start for them.
Good start, what do you mean?
I mean, we've seen some confrontations and clashes in the last session. It's been heated, it's been divided. So, well, the expectation is that we may continue if nothing changes in the chamber.
I think that they will have to change. I think that they need to be able to build consensus. I think that they need to be able to speak to each other more. It is not should I say do or die affair. It is a place where they're looking at building our nation and giving us laws that would cause us to be able to ride the storms when the storms come or sail through smoothly when we have to. So it behoves them to work together. The polarization that we have in this nation has not helped. And so if your MPP decides to go a certain way, everybody will toe the line, whether they agree with it or not, and same for NDC. I think that we should have a lot more objective MPs, speaking truth to power, and not just following because that is the line that they believe they should follow because it belongs to the party. It's not the party alone that they should be looking at. They should be looking at nation building as a whole. And if you want to leave a name and if you want to leave a mark, then you have to make sure that you're being objective and you're being serious with building the nation. So that when people are talking about how the nation got built after your time in Parliament, your name will be mentioned and you'll be standing tall. There are a few MPs that are doing well. There are a few MPs that will speak the truth. But to voting, you realize that they either step out of the chamber, or if they are in the chamber, you probably won't hear their voice in the mix.
Right.
It's the loudest voices that will carry the day. So I think that we need to have our parliamentarians look out for us as a people on both sides and not think of themselves and the party first. They should be thinking about Ghana first.
And one of the thorny issues in the House as well has got to do with attendance and also the controversy surrounding the conduct of some 3 MPs, including the gender minister, Sarah Jasafo. That issue will definitely come up again.
It should, and I believe that if the law says that after a number of days, if you are absent without any justifiable excuse, your seat should be put. We are keeping the seats when the people are not showing up. It means that their area, their constituency is not being represented in Parliament, and we need everybody to be represented, and we need to be serious as a people. So if we are not using the laws, even in Parliament, then why are they promulgating laws for others to obey?
Interesting. We know that we're just about some 9 days to that big government intervention. The Youth Start program, government says, is targeting to give some 10 billion Ghana cedis to stimulate the entrepreneurial skills of the youth out there so as to create more jobs. What's your take on that policy intervention?
I haven't studied it, so I won't want to talk to it directly, but just to say that the youth need to be creative and they need an environment in which their creativity would thrive. If we're giving them money to start businesses or to start enterprises, when they start them, what is the market like? Have we done any feasibility or any market survey to ensure that when they start off, they would carry it through? again, why I hope we are not looking at individuals, but we are looking at corporates. And if you're looking at cooperatives, and if you're looking at cooperatives, then we can look at growing those cooperatives to become big companies in the future. But we need to give them the support that they need, especially with those who have very good proposals that we feel that would impact the nation positively.
Okay then, so we'll get into the details of that shortly, but then we are also on that wild terror alert. I'm sure that you've heard about it already. The Daily Dispatch newspaper is also talking about it. Government rules out see something, say something campaign. It's been spearheaded by the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, as I talked about earlier. So here we are, uncertain times for us as a sub-region and also as a country. But do you feel that the public awareness, this education drive that government intends to embark on will be the most effective way of making people aware of this?
I think it should have started earlier than now. When we heard about Burkina Faso and Mali and now Togo, that is very close to us. But when we heard of it, when it was not as close as Togo, we should have started educating the populace on what to do and how to maneuver in times like these. We should have started the education long ago. But well, let me say it's not late in coming. It just is that now it has to be intense. We have to be talking about it every day. We have to be educating everybody every day. And like it said, when you see, you say something. So when you see something that is not normal in your environment, you need to speak up. You need to say it to somebody. You need to tell somebody. My only worry is that sometimes when you go to report things to the police, they end up treating you as if you're the criminal, and that is the problem why people won't speak up. But now it has become very clear that we are on the brink of an attack, and so everybody needs to speak.
And then obviously this should be coming from you because you have some expertise in that area. The approach government is using political figures in driving awareness. Some say that will not be healthy for us, knowing how polarized the country is, and so we need some more independent faces on that campaign. What's your take on it?
I agree, and especially with the campaign, much as we need independent faces, we need also a lot more security. When I talk about security, let's see the chief of staff and the service commanders and the IGP coming out and speaking and telling people that it is a serious matter and therefore you have to be very careful, you have to be very observant. Again, yes, independent faces across board because people trust in certain people. So we can use the chiefs, we can use queen mothers because people will listen to them and people will take what they're telling them serious.
So it's starting today. We're not too sure if it will take a decentralized approach, but will that also be welcome in terms of moving it all across the country and not just perhaps being in Accra, engaging a few stakeholders and that ends it?
Yeah, it needs to be decentralized because you can never tell where they're going. We don't know what they're targeting. We don't know where they will cause problems. So definitely it needs to be decentralized.
Okay then, democracy has been good, but how good has it been to Ghana? That's the question the Daily Dispatch is also asking. Very interesting question there. What's your take?
Democracy has been good since 19. We have tried to be democratic. Has it really been good? We have ended up not having a multi-party democracy like we envisioned it so that we would have more. We now seem to have just a two-party nation because in parliament you just have two parties. All the other parties are there, but they don't have any representatives in parliament. They don't have representatives anywhere, and you hardly hear them speak. So when we say democracy has been good, what exactly are we looking at? if you're looking at the fact that Parliament has been in existence since '92 and we haven't had any coups, then yes. But if we're looking at democracy, the way democracy should run, where it is of the people, by the people, for the people, then we question. Because if you say to me it has been of the people, by the people, for the people, say no. When a party wins, it's for a section of the people because they are the ones who benefit if their party is in power. Others who have not colored themselves, you'd hardly put them anywhere. So we need to work at a more inclusive government where everybody has a take, and we need to see democracy work in terms where everybody feels that they are comfortable, everybody feels that they can have a say, and everybody feels that they'll be listened to.
And this brings back the age-old conversation about the need to review the fourth democratic framework. I'm talking about the 1992 Constitution. Some processes have started with the Civic Education, the Commission, that's NCCE. They've told us that they're engaging stakeholders on a possible report that perhaps may lead to the president or the authorities that be call for a review of the Constitution. How soon should that happen? Possibly re-looking at our gains over the years and trying to make some changes?
Until I know what changes are to be made, I probably won't go that way. I think that if there are amendments to be made to the Constitution, it's good to have stakeholders meetings and have people talk to that. But I believe that it's not the whole Constitution that needs to be changed. It's not the whole Constitution that is wrong. There are certain amendments that need to be made. For example, we talk about the president in power having all kinds of executive powers, and thus very powerful, and whatever he says is what should write, and that is in the Constitution. How would we look at that to make sure that when we have a president in power, it's not him alone who calls the shots, that other people can contribute also to the governing of the nation? I would have liked to see the other parties, the minority parties that are not in parliament, still being able to contribute to the progress of our democracy. But we are not seeing that. You don't hear them to the next elections. Then you hear about all these parties. They put up candidates. They don't make much when it comes to putting people in parliament or getting a representation anywhere. And therefore their voices die out after elections. So what are we looking at when we talk about a democracy? Let's look at how we can incorporate all these people, despite the fact that they probably did not make much of a showing during elections. They definitely have something to contribute. But when you talk about the Constitution, what are you going to replace the Constitution with another Constitution? If there are amendments to be made, let's look at the amendments and let's make them.
And it's good that you're raising this point, because obviously if there are some changes, the belief is that we should also be focusing on one of the key points around which our democracy revolves, which is elections and the constitutional body which runs that operation. The EC has been subject to a lot of political scrutiny, I mean, particularly from the political parties, but the belief is this is the time to rewire the appointment process and how the leadership of such a constitutional body is elected. What's your view on that as well?
I believe that that's the way we should go. Excuse me. If you look at when Afarijan was the EC, you realize that he was a man of metal. So and people could not move him to do their bidding, and so the political arena was more or less weary of him, and so he saw changes in government from one government to another, and I think he did it 2 or 3 times. And people realized that he wasn't going to be moved by what the political parties were doing. But as it is now,
right,
all see a lot of, I'm trying to find a word to use. We all see
Right.
a lot of interference from government when it comes to the EC, especially the incumbent, and therefore people do not really trust the EC when it comes out with the results, because everybody feels that strings have been pulled and that the EC will do the bidding of whoever puts them there. And so we have colored the EC also. And so the whole of the Electoral Commission would sway a certain way because of who the incumbent is. And that for us is very worrying. That should be very worrying for us. We need some who
Okay.
able to stand.
All right then. Okay then. We seem to be having the challenge once more, but it's been worthwhile speaking to you this morning, media consultant Liz Hayfron-Asari, our guest, helping us out there with the newspaper review. When we return, we'll have your say as well, and also you could feel free to share your experiences with us after 4 hours of a downpour again. The question is, how were you affected by this morning showers? We'll talk about that. This is the AM show on the JoyNews channel. Please stay.